Well, butter me up and throw me in the oven because I've been cooked like your grandma's Christmas ham. Anyways, this is the game developers tier list redemption, and I left out all the publishers. Activision Blizzard. What I don't like about Activision Blizzard is they've been holding on to the Spyro and Crash Bandicoot IPs. They've put out a couple games that were okay, but they just really didn't feel like the original ones we had back on PS2 and GameCube. The other reason is they've just released Modern Warfare. They also released Modern Warfare. Then they released Modern Warfare, and don't forget about them releasing Modern Warfare, followed by Modern Warfare. And we're not even going to mention the fact that they had Treyarch crunching for over an entire year to make Black Ops. Crunch is supposed to be like a 1 week, 2 week thing, just to get the game out and finished. Not for a whole fucking year. So, with all that in mind, Activision Blizzard is getting placed firmly in D tier. Next on the list, we have Game Freak. Notably, they've done the Pokemon games. They always launch a little bit buggy and a little bit unfinished. It's hard to say, though, because I do love Pokemon. I still play the shit out of Scarlet and Violet. I played Sword. I played Arceus. So, like, from a business standpoint, I can see why they're just pushing these games out because they're selling an insane amount of copies for really not having to do a finished product. On the gamer side, it does seem to take them a while to innovate. I mean, look how long it took them to give us a 3D world to walk around in. And looking into Game Freak, their work culture was rated really low, and it's known for being a super crunchy developer. Now, they've made some other games, but to be real, we all know them for Pokemon. I'm having a really hard time deciding where to put this one. At least from what I looked up, I don't think they're as bad as Activision, but I also don't think they deserve to go in C tier. I think just based on the fact that Scarlet and Violet had so many bugs when it was released, they're not known for the greatest work culture, and they did release a Pokemon game that didn't have any comp. I'm gonna have to put them in D tier. It's unfortunate, but it hurts me to put you there. But I think that's where you belong. Now, this one's a fan favorite, Bethesda. So, Bethesda, you might know for doing Fallouts, Elder Scrolls. They did Starfield. Ooh. They've done a few games, but they're most notably known and like renowned for that open world kind of adventure feel like we get in Skyrim and in Fallout 4. They have a really unique take, at least the studios that are doing these open world ones, on giving you this adventure that you get to really control. I mean, I feel like I'm mansplaining Bethesda. I feel like everyone knows who Bethesda is if you clicked on this video. Now, I was doing a little bit of research in the background of Bethesda. Their work culture comes in at a 3.8 out of 5. That being said, also attached to some of the Starfield releases, they, like Todd Howard said, they've abolished their crunch culture that they've had in previous games. And every studio has a bit of crunch. You have crunch. You deal with crunch at work. Like, I'm a server. I deal with crunch at lunchtime when people come in. If it's a busy day, I have to stay late and clean the place. It's not uncommon for businesses and companies to experience crunch. I just think it's elevated a lot more for these game developers because so many people are buying the product. But Bethesda been relatively consistent in delivering us games that we enjoy. So being that I'm a huge sucker for those open world kind of RPG adventure games, and the stain that I think is Starfield, I'm not a huge fan of Starfield. So the fact that I played Fallout 3, New Vegas, Fallout 4, Skyrim, an insane amount as a child. It seems like only recently they just took away that crunch culture. I think I'm going to have to throw Bethesda in B tier. I think they're a good B tier developer. I think if they can really blow my socks off with a future update on Starfield, they might move up, but for now, I think they got to go B. This is Maxis. They are the developer behind Sims. Now, it's hard for me to know whether it's Maxis being greedy or it's their parent company, EA, being greedy. Because if you look at like the Sims 4 homepage, every couple weeks there's always a new pack for $14.99, which is pretty on point with how EA likes to run its business. Now, I'm trying to look at like how it's developed. I don't know how much power Maxis has in the pricing structure or the release date structure, but I want to look at the quality of the pack. I will say each of the packs does bring like a unique style and flavor, or whether that's from like housing appliances to clothes to just things you can have around your house. The DLCs are always really great. And again, I'm not sure if this is EA or if this is Maxis, but from Sims 2 to Sims 3, it seems like Sims 3 looks prettier, but it lost some of that charm. And then from Sims 3 to Sims 4, again, it looks prettier, but it lost a little bit of that Sims charm. Don't know who's making this choice, but it almost seems like they release a game a little more bare bones than the last one so that they can load it with DLCs and make you buy them, and then eventually it gets good. I do like that there's lots of content and all the content is really good, but I just don't like the way it's delivered. It's also known for being one of the better developers for people to work at. They say they encourage creativity. It's got like a 4 out of 5 on company satisfaction when working there. From what I read, it treats its company right. It always gives us good content. I just kind of hate the fact that their parent company's EA. I think I have to put Maxis in A tier, based off of 2 main points. They've made one of the biggest computer game franchises in history, and they have a very high worker satisfaction. And based off of those 2 points alone, I think Maxis gets put in A tier. I have to not look at Maxis like it's part of EA. I have to look at Maxis just alone. Their content is good, they treat their employees right, and they've made a very large franchise in The Sims, which I play all the time. Triternion. I think I'm pronouncing that right. But if you don't know this company, they develop Mordhau. If you don't know what Mordhau is, it's an online medieval combat hack and slash game. At first glance, it looks like, honestly, Mordhau gets terrible support from its developers. Like, the EGS player surge was a perfect opportunity to get new players hooked, but they just didn't bother setting up any new servers to hold all the surge of players, so everyone just dissipated. But then I did some more digging, and it's a small team that was founded in 2017 by just 2 people, and this project started as their passion project. They're not crunching themselves to death. They have a successful game and they're working on it at their own pace, which I respect. But with all that said, it is still a game that had a maximum amount of potential that I think was missed by the developers. And it's unfortunate because I do play Mordhau sometimes. I think it's a great game. I think it's tons of fun. I mean, at this point in time, it's dying, if not dead. And it's just like the sweats who love Mordhau playing, so it's really hard to get in. This developer in C tier. I think that's a good spot. I think they earned it. Yeah, they're C tier. If you, for some reason, don't know who ConcernedApe is, he made Stardew Valley. And not only that, there's something that I think a lot of people miss. Stardew Valley, indie game, it kind of inspired this whole surge of indie developers. Like, even my own girlfriend started designing a game. Just had such an impact across gaming from Stardew Valley that I think he deserves to be quite high on the list. Even for me, like, I came in, before I played Stardew, I suffered from a medical condition called Modern Warfare Mind. Basically brain rot for gaming. All you think about is guns, explosions, killing people. When I first played Stardew, it really opened my eyes to, like, okay, I can slow it down. I can enjoy these stories. It doesn't always have to be action-packed. With all that in mind, and the fact that he's sort of inspired a huge wave of indie developers to chase their dreams and make games for themselves, I'm going to put him in S tier because I love Stardew Valley. And I don't think it's any small feat to inspire this huge surge of other people to start developing games. None of these other studios have been able to do that. Up next, we got Respawn. Now, if you don't know Respawn, they've done games like Jedi Fallen Order, Jedi Survivor, Apex Legends, and the Titanfall series. The original owners of Respawn were fired from Activision for breaches of contract, so they just said, fuck you, and started their own company that was far better than the one that they got fired from. I think it scored like 3.8 or 4 out of 5 for employee satisfaction. I don't know if anyone knows this, but recently there was the ALGS Apex Legends event. I can't remember what match it was, but I was watching it live and they paused the match. And I guess what happened is some people had like hacked into these pro players' accounts. After that, it took them a little while to respond, but after that, the CEO came out and said they immediately issued layered updates to protect the game and to protect players because player safety and game safety is their #1 importance. Strengthens the idea that Respawn is for the players and for the gamers. Also, Respawn lives by a no crunch policy. I know Apex gets a little flack because the servers aren't always the best. There's disconnections and it kind of feels like EA's really milking Respawn to get every last dollar out of them. But I think Respawn does handle themselves very well in this space. All 4 of these games are bangers. Even if Apex suffers a little bit from that live service, and I'm putting Respawn in A tier with Maxis here. I love Rare. They made Sea of Thieves. It's one of my favorite games. I have over 800 hours in it. OG Pirate Legend. Been playing since Season 1. Super fun. I tried to find any like reports of crunch or anything to do with this because they do release updates pretty regularly. And there was a moment when they were releasing, I think it was like an update a month. So I thought for sure there's going to be lots of reports of like crunch happening at this company or them like grinding themselves dry. Not the case. It sounds like they treat their employees really nicely. And they've given us Sea of Thieves, which is like pirate game and zombie games. There's never good ones. But these guys have delivered us the best pirate game we've seen in a very, very long time. So with all that in mind, with Sea of Thieves, love Sea of Thieves. I think this is another A-tier developer. I think these guys do it right. I think it's a great company, and I love their game. Arrowhead Games. Helldivers 2. This company have released one of the best games, if not the best game of 2024 so far. And let me tell you, it's a fucking hoot. Helldivers is amazing. I know there was a little thing a while ago about like requiring PSN linking, but that was Sony. That's not Arrowhead. The CEO of Arrowhead actually told us to change our reviews on Steam to negative in protest of requiring this linking. My one problem is it doesn't seem like they're using test branches before they roll out any new updates. I think if they had that sort of a test branch, they could eliminate some of the crunch that's been reported for their company. So with all that in mind, we do only have a small one to pull from, and I'm not rating the game, I'm rating the developer, and I think it's a little bit of an oversight to not use those test branches before rolling out. They might be using them now, but from my research this morning, I couldn't find anything like that. I know I'm going to put Arrowhead in B, because I think they could just be a little bit more prepared when it comes to rolling out those updates. But, I mean, great game, great developer, super happy, super funny. Supergiant Games is the developer that made Pyre, Hades, and Hades 2. These are kind of like isometric, sort of top-down dungeon crawlers, I guess you'd call them. And they're very, very well received by their communities. The thing that I found most interesting about Supergiant Games is that they have an absolute zero crunch policy, and they offer unlimited vacation time. I played a little bit of Hades 2. I think it was a great time. I think it was tons of fun. With all that in mind, they're going in A tier. Just for how they treat their employees, the way their games come out, pretty consistent schedule. They seem to be treated really nicely. They seem to come out with finished products, which is great. It's Larian Studios. Now, Larian isn't only responsible for Baldur's Gate, they also did the Divinity series. They have the RPG world in a headlock, and they aren't fucking letting go. At least, the fans aren't letting them let go. I think Larian has actually stated they want to move away from D&D based games and work on something else. Why? If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Give us more. Not gonna lie, there's been a pretty general disinterest in making any DLCs for Baldur's Gate 3 or making any large updates or additions to the game, which I understand. It's unique, it's standalone, it's a single story. You don't want to add on to it. That's fine. But from my perspective, I'm just like, come on. You have Divinity stuff. There's more Divinity games. Come on. Larian Studios is gonna go B tier just because I'm salty that we're not getting more Baldur's Gate 3 content. That's the reason they're in B tier. Hello Games. Hello Games is responsible for No Man's Sky, which has a very long story. It was so fucking hyped up. Oh my god, this game was hyped up. And then it released and everyone's like, this shit's fucking empty. The hell's going on here? It's fucking empty. And they had this whole like PlayStation exclusive release and everything going on with it, and it just wasn't received well at all. It was bad games. And now the game is way different than it was when it came out. It's actually playable. It's actually enjoyable. They kind of earned my trust back. I won't lie, there's been tons of additions. The game feels full and lived in. There's so much to do now, like a lot of it. They've had so many massive updates. I did only find 2 reviews for what it's like working at Hello Games, and they were both good, so that's good, but it's only 2. And I can only imagine that the crunch is pretty intense. Pretty fucking intense when you're releasing these huge updates pretty fast to fix the game. Dude, their promises were fucking wild. They were like, oh yeah, it's gonna be you won't be able to explore all the planets. Trillions of planets. Everything's going to be different. You can run into other players, maybe. And then there just wasn't like a multiplayer aspect at all, and you never ran into another player. I think the way that they released No Man's Sky was, it was pretty unforgivable. What they've done to make No Man's Sky better, I really like. I know they're working hard. I know they're giving it everything they've got. Like, you should have seen what they released when they released No Man's Sky. It was so trash. This is a really hard one. Yeah, I think I'm going to put Hello Games in B tier. I think they're doing a lot of good work making No Man's Sky better and playable, but I just think the way that they released their first game is fucking atrocious. There's the game developers redemption tier list. Peace.